Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink, I only have in cartridge form, is by Private Reserve, Black Magic Blue. Yeah, it's purple. Yeah, it's not black, it's not blue, it's purple. But, yeah, it comes in bottles like this, or these are the small bottles, these are the 50 milliliter bottles. Finally went through a whole bottle. But yeah, so there's that. All the tests were done in this JinHao X450. And admittedly, even though these standard nibs are called mediums, this one's pretty broad and it's pretty wet. And although that's how I like my pens, it's gonna cause some problems. So, yeah, let's check out the chromatography. As you can see, there's definitely something down here at the bottom. It's like a slate color. Goes up into sort of this light purple, and then it goes into, I mean, on camera it looks blue, but in person it's actually more of a, I don't know, it's more like a lilac or like a violet. It's one of those blues that's so close to being purple that, you know, if you weren't paying attention you'd say, oh, that's blue, when really it's actually closer to purple. So anyways, moving on. Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter, 25 seconds to dry, and as you can probably tell from the smear test, yes, it's a very wet pen, like I said. Now, it is a very dark purple, but it is purple. It's a deeply saturated ink, which, yeah, but nice shading, as you can see, you get some shading through here. Some bleed, which I think is just because it is such an obscenely wet, broad pen. But, yeah, 25 seconds to dry, which is a bit epic, but again, it's broad, it's wet, it's a saturated ink. Staying power is pretty impressive, though. That's very dark, that's very there. It dyed the paper the littlest bit, but yeah, definitely purple there. Next is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, where it took 24 seconds to dry, so there's a tiny bit of improvement. And again, you can see just how wet this pen must have been, because just nice shading, as you can see in the writing and in the scrubby. And as you might be able to see in the scrubby, it's starting to halo sheen just the littlest bit. Yeah, long dry times, but yeah, no bleed feather spread, which is nice. Here, as you can see in the water test, dyed the paper a bit, but what's there is fairly dark. It did spread a little bit in spots, but came through a bit in the scrubby and in the water test, but everything else is fine. Next is Tomoe River Paper, where you can see just how wet this must have been, because, I mean, that would have kept going, but I lifted my finger off the page. Took 30 seconds to dry. You might be able to see some of the sheen in the writing, and there, look at that. You can see it in the scrubby. There's this bright gold color. It's really quite pretty. And this was taking so long to dry, all of this bit, that I set it aside and did the other tests, and then by the time I came back, it was running out of ink, so it was running on fumes, which is why it's so light and so watery here, because I was like shaking it and trying to get the last bits of ink out of it so I could finish the test. But yeah, as you can see, it's purple. This is a purple ink, so yeah, water test for Tomoe River, very impressive. I mean, that's very dark, that's very clear. Serious echo, especially in the wettest parts. But, yeah. And 20-pound copier paper, where it's a disaster. But I kind of knew it was going to be, because it's a heavily saturated ink, and it's a wet pen, and it's a broad nib. So if you're using your head, you know this is what's going to happen. So, yeah, I said predictably bad. And even though this water test is terrible, there's something about it that's kind of pretty, almost. I mean, I don't know. It's a disaster, but it's still kind of pretty. Yikes. Yeah. Yikes. Next is Mead Notebook Paper, where it took 3 seconds to dry. And again, I mean, predictably bad results. Still very purple. Water tested a disaster. But, I mean, here where the water really went through, you see the A. It's very clear, very dark. It was just that the purple stuff that washes away was really what exploded. But that's really bad, so. And lastly is Moleskine Notebook Paper, where, again, it did predictably bad. If you know your inks and you know your paper, you know it's going to do bad. Although here it's very purple. I mean, if you look at this, this is distinctly purple. I don't think there's much blue left to this. There's some shading-ish, but if you look close, the shading is where you get the feathering and the spread. And, yeah. And it really didn't stay that much. And it exploded, and yeah, it's mostly gone. That's really embarrassing. But, yeah, so there you go. That's Private Reserve Black Magic Blue, which is neither black nor blue. It's purple. But it's a nice deep purple. I think it looks good in a nice wet pen. Maybe don't then use it on the cheapest paper you can find, but I feel like that's just logic. So yeah, there you go for your consideration from the Triple N Network. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.